Gonna be on your live video.
That will.
Yes. Hey Tammy, you're the first one here, my darling. Glad you're here.
Good to have you with us tonight or this evening.
We're gonna start in just a little bit. We're a few minutes early. Um, Last week we took a little break, and hope you guys had a pretty good Memorial holiday.
Mm-hmm.
There, you started already. Started to yawn already. How are you anyway? How are you doing?
I'm doing
You're
fine.
doing
How,
good.
how about you?
I'm glad you're doing
Good.
good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're again, we'll be talking about the eternal self, life as the eternal self,
And the function of the eternal self.
and the function of the
Mm-hmm.
eternal self. Yes, yes, yes. And I got 1 minute. 1 minute. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to
I'm
go.
ready to
We're ready
go.
to go. All righty. Let's see. I don't even have my Bible open. Let's see. I need to get it open right quick. Let's see. I'm gonna try to get into Ephesians right fast here. See what I got. See what I got. Ephesians 1. Okay. How much of this do I want to read? Okay. Tammy, you're the only one here, so you're the only one who's gonna hear this. Well, here comes Jill. Hey, Jill.
Miss Jill, good to have you with
We're
us
here.
again.
Yeah, we're here, live and in color.
We made it back.
Yes, we did. And again, we're talking about the eternal self and life as the eternal self. I want to start off with Ephesians 1 and 9, and this is where Paul was talking about what we had before we came here. In the ninth verse, it's very specific. It says, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he has purposed in himself. So it's like we already know his will.
It's
So
structured into us.
it's structured into us. So that being said, I think that deep down within all of us lies the awareness of our life charts.
The sleeping state of seeking to find what God's will is the state that everybody has come into when it comes to this dimension, and it is an unconscious state, but it does not remove the fact of beingness, of the structured identity of the purpose built into every eternal being, every eternal spirit. The key to it is unraveling the unconscious stigma or the unconscious state and waking up to what we're saying and talking about. These are things that we have discovered through investigating and research, that everybody in this universe, every being, excuse me, has got the same potential in them, but everybody has not been asked the question loaded enough as to who am I, who are they, and what is the true identity, what is a true self.
Do you believe that? Do you feel that if until a person really recognizes what or who they are, they won't have a clue about their reason for being here, or what they've been assigned to do? Or
let's just say it like this: the clues come and present themselves all the time, but it's something there that wakes up to recognize these clues. When you get it, you may have to be around somebody. It may take time for certain things to take place in your life.
Okay, I got it. So the clues aren't necessarily revealed to us. We don't remember them.
They're here waiting.
But we recognize them.
They are recognized because it's when you understand the eternal self, nothing starts and ends. So the package deal is the eternal self. I'm affirming that those that are listening to us now or coming on to listen will catch this, because once it is caught, it is never lost.
True. So the essential questions is, why am I here? That's a question that needs to be asked. And then, hey Deb, and then the other one is, what am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one. What have I been assigned to do while I'm here?
All of these questions are built into us.
Hey, little Vince.
All of these statements come from us, and they are deliberately put in us, structured into the fabric of the eternal self.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like in this story or this world that it's an independent part of us that's asking these questions,
Yeah.
and it's really God structured into these questions that
Mm-hmm.
causes these
Mm-hmm.
things to come up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
hard
The
to put it in
questions don't.
words.
Yeah, the questions don't even come unless God's bringing them up. Is what
Well,
you.
let's say it like that. We
Yeah.
came with them. They came with us, and they couldn't come here without us, and we couldn't come here without. Let's just say I'm saying coming from a place to, but it's really not a
Really not
place
a
we came
coming.
from. It
Mm-hmm.
is who we've always been. You guys out there, you'd have to come and sit down in a session with us where we can take time and uncover some of these questions and allow the eternal self to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
expose
Mm-hmm.
who it is that's asking these questions and looking for the answers.
Hey,
And
Vern. Hey, Tangi.
yeah, you guys, good to have you with us.
So now God dreamed us into existence and he dreamed us as sons and daughters, and that's when he became father. God was not a father until we were dreamed into existence. So if God wasn't dreaming us, we wouldn't even be here.
You know, it is so intricate and really so finite what we're talking about tonight
Yeah.
that brings about an awareness of why we have not asked these questions. And like I've always said in the class, uh, the question has to be loaded enough
Mm-hmm.
to move your
Mm-hmm.
inner self
Mm-hmm.
to respond, because if it's not presented right in the question,
If it's not a deep enough
yeah, it's
question,
not loaded enough,
it won't
it
it,
won't
it
trigger a
won't trigger.
response.
Right. It will not. You will
Ask,
not get the
yeah, asking
response.
stuff like mild mannered stuff like how many animals did Noah have in the ark? How
How
many?
he get them in there?
Yeah, how many rooms did he have? How many pieces of wood? That's mundane thing. It's not
Yeah,
loaded enough.
yeah.
It has to be something that well, let's say it like this. God has to ask God his own questions and allow himself to answer
Mm-hmm.
his own
Mm-hmm.
God
It,
questions
it
with
is.
his
It
own
is. It
answer
is.
as being his self.
Yes. Yes.
There's
Yes.
no other self answer outside of the God answer. Now that's not something mystical. That's just the law of the eternal self, the eternal spirit.
Now, speaking of our existence here, a lot of people, especially those of us who are on this path to enlightenment, we ask the question, why are we here in this world of so much suffering? And but we heard just this week, and this it made good sense to me, that this is the perfect place for us to evolve.
It is the perfect evolution dimension.
Because it gives us the challenges and the obstacles that we have to transcend, and we have to evolve.
Now, please understand this. We came from a place we never came from. Let's say it like that. Uh, every eternal spirit is omnipotent, omnipresent, whether they are awake to this or not.
Right.
Which means, in my investigation into this thing, we are projected an ideal image, an ideal self here, and something believes that it left somewhere and came here. But in actuality, no one, not anyone, ever left anywhere.
Right.
We are actually present. We are the presence of
Yes.
the eternal self.
Yes, we are.
And it seems like there's 5 million, 5 billion people on the earth. How many? I don't know. Doesn't matter about numbers. It seems like, but when you get past the seem like, you're going to find out that everybody is the same eternal self.
Yes, and as eternal selves, we agreed to come. We agreed to the time, we agreed to the location, we agreed to departure, the way we're going to depart.
Even
We,
tonight, we agreed to this conversation.
we agreed to our mission in life. And you're not listening to us because you're trying to wake up or because you're awake, because
You are awake.
because you're wanting to wake up. You're listening to us because you are awake. That's why
it.
you're listening.
That's why. That's why you're tuning in.
Mhm.
Because something is saying, after a while of being in this story,
Mhm.
something is saying, it's like, let's put it like this. It's like being in the movie theater and you got caught up on what's on in front of you on the screen, but all of a sudden this idea came to you. Where is this picture been projected from?
Mhm.
Then I do it all the time. I don't do it as often usually because I don't go to the theater as much.
Oh, we went recently.
Yeah, but I didn't like it because
We
it was
didn't.
too loud.
We did. I said we must be getting old because we went to see it in IMAX, and we went to see. And some of you guys may not agree with, may not approve of what we went to see. Went to see John Wick 3, but we went to see it in IMAX, and it was too daggone loud.
I wouldn't
We
want
need
to
to
do
see
that no
senior
more.
movies. And then the seats were supposed to be very comfortable recliners, but when you're short, the part that's supposed to put your head and rest your head on and your shoulders was hitting the head and
It's
pushing
on
it
top
down
of your
like
head
this.
instead of
So we were
behind
like
your head.
scrunched up the whole time. So we don't want to even go back to IMAX.
No, let's don't try that no more. But now let's just say we all came here with the evidence.
Yeah.
Now here's the punchline. We are the evidence. We are the evidence. We are the evidence that God exists.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Now,
That is so
oh
true.
boy.
Yes.
And when I hear this and I say this, I notice the reaction on the inside. We are the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Effortless evidence. No
Yes.
struggling
Yes.
evidence
Yes. Yes.
that God is real.
Yes. Hey, Sister Chris. Hey, Sharon, Tippy Toe, and Vincent. Good to have you with us.
Okay.
So deep with, like I said, deep within every last one of us lies the awareness of our life charts and even the awareness of who we are. And it has to be recognized, not so much remembered. So the mind will never remember who you are. It will never remember what your sacred chart says, but it will recognize, you will recognize it when it's time to recognize. You will have that. Most of you have had that. Most of you listening here now, you've recognized who and what you are. And you agreed to come here. And like I said, you agreed to the time, the location, the departure of how you're going to leave here and your mission in life. You also knew what you came here to accomplish. All that's downloaded inside of you. You also participated in setting up the process of your obstacle course. And so that's why I said this, while this world is a world of suffering, it is a very painful world sometimes. It is the best place for our evolution.
The heavenly place is us in the form of an ideal that believes that it came from somewhere to be somewhere. And once the awareness dawns on the mind, it wakes up to factuality, reality. It wakes up, and then something on the inside, it's hard to place words because this stuff that we're talking about is so wordless that even in a silent state, it speaks so loud that words are inadequate to supply the translation of it. You are the translation of God without saying anything. You are the actual expression of God. You got to hit the bypass system. I'm talking about doing something, but actually
it's being done for you.
It's already it's called doneness, doing this alreadiness. I don't know how you put that in, but nothing has happened to us and will happen to us that is not under divine scrutiny.
Yes, yes.
Divine intelligence,
It's customized for
custom
tailor-made
intelligence.
especially for
Yes, yes,
you. Your whole life has been
yes,
tailor-made
yes,
especially for
yes.
you.
You are experiencing the tailor-made God identity without even agreeing with it. Now listen to
Because you
this.
agreed with it before you came into your physical existence.
Let's remove all the middle ground stuff.
Mm.
Let's go to the direct communication of God with God, God in Himself, God in, let's say, like a full band operation. Let's just say
One man band.
band.
Mm-hmm.
God playing the ukulele,
Mm-hmm.
God playing the Gibson guitar,
Mm-hmm.
God playing the keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
God got ropes tied to him on his knees and legs, and every time
Yeah.
he walks, he
Yeah.
plays the
Yeah.
drum.
Yeah, this week past, Reverend and I looked at Ted, and I can't remember the guy's name, but Vince, you would remember, little Vince and Big Vince, you would remember, you would know about this. He had some kind of an equipment, and you guys, I'm sure, know more about it than I do, where he could play something on his guitar, and it's recorded in that. Then he would play something on the drums, and it was recorded in that. Then he would play something on, was it a harmonica or something, and he put that in, and it was a song that he wanted to play, but it would require 6 people playing different instruments in order to play. But because he had that equipment, he made every one of those parts, and he played it himself. It was like 6 men in one body. And so it was that point we realized, okay, that's how God did it. God is playing every part, but it doesn't, but there's still only one. He's playing every part, but there's still only one.
Here's something good for you. You find out that there is no need for anyone to try to get God to hear them like He's at a distant place.
Yes.
I'm talking to God from God without effort while you guys are watching or listening or whatever you're doing while we on the site. And there's no place in the universe where God is not fully aware and involved in this conversation.
Yeah.
He's in it.
It is this
I mean, you
conversation.
can't put something there that's already there. So
Mhm.
just relax and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Hey, Dee Dee.
you don't. It's not no such thing as trying to get God in on something
Yeah.
when
It's already all God anyway.
he's the inside man. He's the inside us.
Well, you know, even the scriptures say God is all and in all. So,
Mhm.
I mean, there's no way for any of us to do anything without God being in it.
And like I wrote on my note here, you are no longer a self with or without God. The real self is all of it.
Yes. And that's why I say that God is always appearing but never seen, because what we see is our each individual parts or each individual forms, but it's God always appearing but never seen.
Happiness is when finding out. But let me say this to you. You are the happiness of God. I could sit here all night long and say that and just watch all of you guys go to sleep, and I could keep saying it. You are the happiness of God.
Yes, yes.
There is
yes.
no one blocking you or holding you back, and there's no
Amen.
one letting you go or grabbing hold of you. No one is holding you down. Nobody is putting the limits on you. There is only one natural spirit of your true identity, and it is that you are the happiness of God. Hot dog. Now I like that.
Now, there are times we'll pick a project we want to accomplish something, and we'll feel like, you know, well, I don't know if I can do that or not, and it will require a lot of effort on our part. And when we have those projects and we don't find it easy to do, that doesn't mean that we aren't all powerful. It simply means that maybe it's not meant for us at that time, or maybe it's not meant for us to do because it may interfere with something else. There's a lot of different factors involved in that. How many people have I seen that really, really wanted to sing? We see it every day, every week when we see these people go on these shows like American Idol and America's Got Talent, and they believe that they can sing and they believe that they can do certain things, but then it turns out that they really weren't equipped for that, and then they go off feeling, like that was like they were defeated. But there are things that your potential. It has you are equipped for everything that's your potential. And so to find out what your potential is also a part of you knowing who you are. And a lot of people now, especially these days, they think to be successful is knowing you being who you are because you're being successful. That's not necessarily true. You are actually fulfilling part of your potential, but that doesn't give you a clue about who or what you are. For instance, if I was good at, say, art, and I needed my eyes to paint because I'm looking at, say, a landscape, or I'm going to do some nature drawings. I've never seen. If I've seen before, maybe I could do it, and somebody help me to get to the paper. But if I've never seen before, that would not be something I could fulfill. So you're equipped for whatever it is your potential is. If you're not able to do it, and maybe that isn't what part of your potential is.
I'm glad you mentioned about potential. I had a revelation came to me just before we came online that night. The wife and I went out to eat a light meal yesterday, I believe it was, at a cafeteria over here. And on the way out, we got ready to pay for our meal. And I said, hold on for a minute after I finish paying for it. I need to go to the men's room. And the lady gave me the change, and I didn't take time to take the change, and I put the loose change in my right pocket, but the $2 bill, for some reason, I held the $2 bills in my left hand. And it didn't dawn on me that I was holding those $2 bills in my hand for a divine reason. So I went on in there and in the restroom, and I did what I had to do. And I turned and I looked, and the thought said, take each one of these dollar bills and lay one on the right side of the counter in front of the mirror and lay the other one on the left side. I said, that's strange. And then the idea just came to me, said, now, if you had time, you'd leave that money there and come back maybe 30 minutes, an hour later, and see if they're still there. And then the day I was on just sitting downstairs, and it dawned on me. It's called acts of kindness. And it started coming to me that acts of kindness. What would it be like if I find out that we all came here or projected ourselves here and set it up that we have what is called certain gifts or certain potential that we're supposed to do, certain things we're supposed to do, not by law.
Right.
Let's just say I go into a place and I all of a sudden go to the bank and get $51 bills. And I decided to go around and put $51 bills in somebody's hand and tell them, I want to use this $50, this $100, I'm sorry, this $1 bill. And I want you, well, then I said, well, why don't I just pick out one person and give them the whole $50 and ask them to take each one of those bills and go around to people in the church, in the class, and put it in their hand. And when you put it in their hands, tell them that you are blessing them with the gift of abundance and prosperity. And if they want to, they can take that same energy that I'm using in that dollar bill and go to somebody else and give them. Then at the end, I said, I want all of you, this is what came to me, bring the dollar bill back and put it in my hand. It should be $50. What I'm doing is opening a channel from me to them for the inflow of special manifestations of prosperity and money to come to them. And then they're going to see, you can't, if I got $100 in my right hand and I need an extra $100, I can't get extra money in until I open my hand and let go of what I have. So I want them to let go of what I gave them so more can come back. I saw this thing today and I saw it and I said, I saw myself go through a restaurant and I put $1 bill on every table.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. I put on our Facebook page earlier today a picture of my nephew, Get Darius, as he was laying in bed with my mom. And I put underneath there that this is what love looks like. Because in doing what you were mentioning before, somebody might say, well, that's a good way to get people to have money. But the focus is not on getting them to have money. The focus is to make everybody feel loved. And that if you do that, you don't have to have a lot of gifts, a lot of spiritual gifts. But whatever you do whatever you can to make people feel loved. And that's the main thing. And if you do that, that will change everything.
And so I saw this and I said, wow. Now here's the key to this. When you do this, you want to notice the reaction inside of you that take place when you put this dollar bill out there. What kind of reaction? Because that's going to be a response inside of you, and it's called a kindness response. All right. Let's just say everybody brought that $1 bill back to you. They need to know, what did it feel like for them to give it to you? I'm just giving you a metaphor of how this thing came to me. And I say, wow, this is going to be fun. This is fun because I get a chance to sharpen the intuition, the insight. And I also, with this, I'm going to find out what my eternal gift of kindness. Now, some people gift of kindness may be a piece of candy given out, a kind word, or a thank you, or a holding a door, or
without expecting them to say thank you,
or a smile, or a good gesture. Or sometimes it may mean you're standing at the counter and somebody don't have enough change to pay for something, and you might say, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." What kind of response? And I can feel and sense that some of you guys may have already started this, but try it.
Yes.
I mean, before I came up here today, I wanted to call certain people in my phone book, in my little phone book, and tell them about how this can work.
You don't have a black book, do you?
No, I don't have no black book. I might have a blue book or a white book or anything. But anyway.
Well, I know that there's a saying that says, when will God heal or come deliver mankind? He said, when man becomes kind man.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we're talking about letting go of all the dead energy and regenerating new pathways of miracles of kindness expressions.
Because God is here in the trenches with us.
And we're no longer waiting for God to tell us, because we are, I'm going to say that, we are the sayings, the tellings, and the doings of God.
I like that.
The sayings, the tellings, and the doing. So when you are the saying, the tellings, and the doing, all you have to do in order for this to be recognized, and let nothing at you, give up looking for recognition.
Oh boy.
Let that go.
I mean, because it's going to be automatic. If once you know who you are, that's going to happen automatically.
When I've heard of people who have picked up animals and they were being abused and hurt, and they take the animal and they nurture it
Mm-hmm.
and love it
Mm-hmm.
and bring it back to its original essence. That is acts of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you guys something. What we're talking about now is so awesome that you don't need a future or a past to go into this. You don't need to seek God for this. You don't need to inquire, should I should not do this.
Yes.
Just do it
Yes.
and watch the reaction inside, because
Mm-hmm.
your eternal infinite self, this is the nature of
That's
your
what
true
makes
self.
us feel good, isn't
Oh,
it?
shucks,
When we
yeah.
have acts of kindness. Hey, Vanessa, my sweetheart, how are you? And Veronica, I'm glad you're here. And Michael, it's good to have you with us. So God is not somewhere else at another time in another place. And
Yeah.
you always said that.
Hmm.
So within us is all of the source or resources that we need. And if it isn't always, when we think about this physical existence, we often think about money
Hmm.
because we have to have money to live here. But we found out that a lot of times we didn't have the money, but the resources still came to us.
Hmm.
Like just last week, he ordered a lawnmower because we were paying somebody to do it, but we figured, well, we can do our own lawn and it'll give us a chance to get some exercise done. It'll be cheaper for us. So we ordered it. It never came. So our grass was getting knee deep. And
Hmm.
baby girl, she like when she goes out to water the grass, she didn't want to squat because it was touching her bottom. So it was just that hot. But we were just waiting for it to come. It never did come. Got twisted up in shipping and all of that stuff. We went off and did some errands, came back, our grass was cut. A guy who does the lawn across the street
On the neighborhood.
in our neighborhood came and did our whole yard and blew it off, and we looked really nice. And we didn't ask him to do it. And he didn't do it to try to get money from us.
And I had part of the money.
And that was an act of kindness.
I call it God is.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
you are not someone somewhere else at another time in another place. You are an eternal God class of being.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell anybody this. You don't have to try to get anybody to see this. Here it comes. You are the seeings, SEEING, of God manifested
Mm-hmm.
without struggle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about if God if people don't see God or some do. That's not what you're interested in. You see him.
Mm-hmm.
You know where he is.
That's right.
You know who he is. Hey, this is the big one. Finding out who God is will unravel. I'm gonna say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Finding out who God is will unravel everything from Genesis to Revelation in your Bible.
It sure will.
And
More.
And more. Finding out who God is.
Mm-hmm.
Removes this stigma that God loved the Jews more than he does the Gentile. Finding out who God is removes all prejudice, separation, individuality. Come on, talk to me out there.
Exclusivity.
Exclusivity. Whatever you call that word you just said. Exclusivity. You are the feelings, the seeings, the hearings, the beings, the tasting, the awareness, the consciousness, the absoluteness, the eternalness, the infinite. Oh, you are the love, the healing, the unction, the motion, the inner world and the outer world, surrounded by the presence. You are the presence of God, absolute pureness. But you got to give up the lesser self.
Yeah.
The little self.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, go on beyond that.
Well, Vince, I like what you said. You said walking in the seeing and the hearing and the knowing of the eternal self.
Whether you understand, it doesn't matter whether you understand what we said.
Right.
This is factuality. LaVince, you hit it.
Yes.
I can't talk to you without talking to God. Let's put it like this.
Exactly.
He may not be here when you want him, but he's always on time. You've heard that in church so much. I wish they would stop saying that. But that's what they have to do. That's what
That's
they
where
got to
they
do.
are. Yeah, that's where they are.
God does not come and to present an arrival, and he's not an arrival there to wait to see if you're going to catch if he's there or not.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, yes.
God is not waiting for you to catch him. He's not trying to get away from you. He can't. How can he? If he's everything, everywhere present at one time. So there is no losing God. I heard it said like this: ignorance is the belief that God come and go.
Yes, but our incarnation is the reincarnation of God.
Okay. No name, no address, no gender, no us and them, no you that has never existed. Catch what I'm saying? You have always been and always will be, and you have never left from being the absoluteness. I'm sorry if you got this thing stuck in your head.
Yes.
That I ain't never been until I got, and I ain't gonna be until I get. I wish you could put that behind you.
I like one little bit. Little bit, you're on target tonight, man. He said, "It's true. I am living this." I like the way I type that. It's being true. Being true is greater than living it. Yes,
you are the hey, LaVince, you are the living it. You are the living it.
I said this to him the other night. We are, if we are just beingness, that means when we are doing anything, we're just amming.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We're just amming.
A-M-I-N-G.
Yeah, I'm amming. We're amming.
Now that sounds like that'll go good on the market. Now, everybody is wearing the same size shoe. That's why it says in a brief motion or a brief breath, the footsteps of the righteous are ordered. I'm going to go further than that. If you are righteous and don't know you're righteous, you're still wearing the same shoe. I'm sorry if you want the believers to wear a side shoe and the unbeliever wear a different shoe, then you need to deal with your prejudice.
Yeah.
Because God got the same size shoe for everybody, and everybody wearing it, but everybody don't know it.
Could it be that the knower, the knowing, and the known is the same one?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm asking Boss Man to give you a raise. That's right.
The knower, the knowing, and the known is the same one.
You are the space in front of yourself. You are the space in the room. You are the space between your liver and your quiver. You are the space between each one of your fingers. When you close your finger, you close the gap in on your awareness being ever present everywhere. You are the spaceless self. That's everywhere. The spaceless self. You are where space believes that nothing is, but you are there as the space that is all isness. Yes. Now I may be playing with words, but I'm trying to tell you something.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking the truth, and the truth doesn't have to have any validation. It just resonates.
You are the truth that have always been, and also a truth that can never be translated, but yet you're the translation of truth in its true essence, and you never told anybody what your definition was. You are the definition of truth without a translation of it.
There's a scripture, and I don't remember where it is, that talks about how that God's laws are written on our hearts. So our heart has a whole script all through it. It has, our heart has the inscription of God. It has an imprint of God. It is the imprint of God. So there is absolutely no way that we could possibly, once we shed off, or I should say, lift the veil from our eyes, and the veil that's hiding God is the way I see myself. That's the only thing hiding God. It's the way I see myself.
It's the lie.
Yes. That's the only thing. That is the veil. How I see myself is what is the veil. So once that veil is moved, God is exposed.
You're going to use this suit, and in your real estate, you're going to shed this thing off, walk off from it when you finish with it. But what part of you is going to walk off? It's your real estate. You are a real estate broker. In your real estate, you are breaking this body down to the eternal fact that you are the one that actually move it from one place to another.
Yes.
Under the guise of stillness, silence. Your silent self is doing all of this at the expense of the body, thinking that it is an independent agent. No such thing.
Or the mind thinking.
Or the mind thinking it. Yes. Oh, you guys out there, you're gonna get this. And I can see somebody jumping up and down, standing on their head and cutting flips, because I'm telling you, in this revelatory insight of your true identity, you are the one that no one has ever seen, and yet as invisible as you are, you can see the invisible.
Yes, yes. Hey, my sweetheart Marla, it's good to have you here, sweetheart. David, it's good to have you.
As invisible as you are so invisible that only your invisibility can see your invisible self.
I want to say what Little Vince written. Little Vince, you're on target, man. He said, I am the I am, and what I'm also not. The unknowing not knowing, and the knowing being all that is true. The eternal self is all, but also knowing without itself being everything.
Wow. And that is the quickening of the awakening moment.
That's the language of consciousness. You're speaking from consciousness to consciousness about consciousness. That's the language.
You are moving from the ideals of the ideal self. When we little, they always asked us, what you gonna do when you grow up? I didn't know that I was already who I was going to be
when you grew up.
in my eternal self.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to plant cabbage or corn or cucumbers, you can ask the cucumber. If you ask the cucumber what it's going to be, it can't tell you. It can't tell you, because it is a.
If you ask an acorn, it can't tell you. But inside that acorn is a full blueprint for what it is. When
the acorn, this thing is something. I'll tell you this. It's not when the acorn. Inside the acorn is a full-grown oak tree.
Full-grown oak tree, yes.
Now, every acorn that falls off the tree does not return or give off the full measure of what's in it.
Yeah, it doesn't always.
But it does have a link to the rest of them, and it does not struggle with trying to get out of it what is in others.
Right.
It's something of a miracle.
But you know when you talk about that acorn, all of them don't germinate, and that's because all of them aren't put into the right conditions. So everything that you've been through has been to cause you to germinate and become that you are. Everything.
Therefore, there is no such thing as God's time to do this and God's time. You know, the book said there's a time for all things. That's only in the dimensional time zone.
Yes, yes.
Now, watch this. You are out of time.
Outside of time.
You, let's just say, you created time in your infinite self as a game to be played.
Yeah, because you know, time isn't really real. I mean, right now it's 7:44 here, and where little Vince is, I'm sure it's not 7:44. It's what, 4 years? I mean, 4 hours behind us. So the time is just something that we made up in order to live our physical existence. It doesn't really exist. So if you take all the watches away and you take all the clocks away, what time would it be? It would just be now. It would just be now. There would not be a past and there would not be a future. It would always just be now.
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 That's who you are. Now, the collective ego gives off the idea of suffering.
Yes.
It's suffering is called, I want to hear this now. Suffering is called the ego's point of view. I just came. Suffering is the ego's point of view, but it cannot outweigh the part of you that is aware of all views from all angles, and you are so undisturbed. Watch this. I also found out that there's something responds to reactions. That responds to reactions.
Yes.
All reactions that responds to all reactions is not your eternal self. In the eternal self, you are the observer and the awareness of all reactions in the false self.
Some of us, it takes us a while to become the witness and the observer,
or to notice it.
Right, to come to a place where we notice rather than jumping and diving in to our reactions. It takes a while for us to get to a place where we realize that reacts is not who we are. It's not us. It is just a mechanism. It's a mechanism in each of us that automatically, if somebody, if an alarm goes off, you all react the same way. So it's just a mechanism, and so it takes a while for some of us to begin to put distance between that reaction and what we are, and realize that it isn't us, and to become the witness and the observer for that.
We saw a coach on YouTube listening to some of the top of the line musicians and singers, and she was responding to places in critiquing places when they reach a certain note or a certain place in sound. She would point out whether they was moving from the,
if it was a head,
from the head
sound, or
sound,
a
throat sound,
or chest
sound, or a solar plex,
using their diaphragm sound. And she was determining whether or not, she was pointing out whether or not they were straining, using their head voice to hit larger notes, and she was pointing out all of those different things, and it really let me know that those who sing, some of them naturally just do it without training. They learn their instrument.
Yeah,
they learn their instrument, which is their vocal, their voice. They learn their instrument the same as a musician learns his instrument, and they learn how to make it do what it should do and needs to do. And there's techniques to that.
Each instrument that is played is first coming from inside of the player. You are the instrument within that picks up seemingly something on the outside. Now, the bigger, the greater the seeing is of who you are, and the more you become aware of how to move your awareness here, there, chest, and the lower parts of
And
the
you're not just
stomach.
talking about physical singing.
No, we're not talking about. We're talking about an energy or a force that you use to make sound with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a part of you in each one of these: the stomach, the heart, the throat, and the head. You can tell when you're talking to somebody whether they got sinus condition or sinus problem. But when you hear them, you can feel it in the
You
upper.
locate
You
it.
locate it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the key to understanding your eternal function is kind of like understanding those different areas where
Mm-hmm.
the sounds in your anatomy come from.
Mm-hmm.
When I begin to understand the energy centers in us, I begin to understand the fivefold ministry, the fivefold operations of the fivefold dimensions that we all travel through to get here,
Mm-hmm.
and the five different colors, birth notes, birth sounds, birth functions that we function in to get here. And these are some of the things that I had to consider in order to learn how to function in what we call 1 Corinthians 12, the gifts of the Spirit, because each one of those operations function from these energy centers in our body. But see, that everybody in the churchology and religion wants it to be black or white, yay and nay. But I'm telling you, it's not that. It's not
But it's
just
more
that.
about
It's more. It's more
more
to it.
about learning yourself, isn't
Learn
it?
yourself. Right.
Learning
Right.
yourself. Yes.
Give your awareness a chance to move around and notice how it responds to the things of God inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Experience yourself. Experiment with your inner self. Give
Yes.
yourself, your inner self, an opportunity for the full expression of the eternalness that has always been you. It's one of the most amazing adventures that you could get on.
Yeah.
And you will find out that the Father God and your true self is the one that has been constantly giving itself in different ways and different forms. So what you have to do is to find out or to be aware of the different forms that God is giving himself in through you.
Wow. 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 Our time is almost up. Lord, we've been here and it's been so good talking to you guys. I hope what we said tonight resonates with you. We'll be back next Thursday, Lord willing, and the creek don't
And
rise.
please think about us and your giving,
Yes.
and she can explain that
And
to you in
yes, and I
detail.
think little Vince explained to us that the donate button, and I found out that Facebook is no longer allowing us to use the donate button. So I think it's under Learn More. There's a button called Learn More. If you
Yeah.
hit that, it should take you directly to our site where you can give a donation if you choose to. And we were gone last week. I'm glad you guys still tuned in. Those of you who did tune in. We just took a little break for once in a while, and
We want somebody out there to believe the miracle, affirm the miracle, which is already made aware of $40,000 to come in as a gift or some way favor to hit the button and don't write a rubber check that'll bounce. But we need your financial assistance in these areas. Please.
And thank you for
And
those of
thank
you
you
who
for
have
those who
already
have.
been
Yeah,
donating.
thank you.
We bless you. We bless you. We love 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 you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you the next time.
And remember, every time you say thank you to somebody around you, you're saying thank you to your eternal self.
Click Learn More on the Cornerstone page. Thank you, little Vince.
See you later. Bye bye.